Welcome to 39-minute conversations. Please wait for your host to begin this meeting. Your meeting is now being recorded.
Hey, Bill, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, man, good to see you.
What's up, dude? How you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you. If you don't mind, real quick before we get started, I do. This is a podcast where I do everything, within the Zoom meeting. So I do have one quick ad read, and then we'll get right into it. How's that sound?
Right, dude. Ads. Whoa, dude. Lots happen.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's pretty crazy. Totally unrelated sponsor that who knows how I got it, but today's presenting sponsor of 39-minute conversations is Tim Arnold, Myrtle Beach Realtor. Look, y'all, it's been a couple weeks since Tim Arnold's last ad ran. He called me up and said, why am I not getting any good leads off these ads I paid for? Why are none of your listeners looking to buy a new beach house in beautiful South Carolina? Do they not know about the 50 miniature golf courses? Do they not know that Myrtle Beach has everything from gourmet restaurants to dance clubs to relaxing mornings on a beautiful intercoastal waterway? Do they not know Myrtle Beach has something for everybody? Families, young single people, and retirees alike. Son, he calls me son for some reason. Why would anyone not want to live in Myrtle Beach? And I didn't have a good answer for him. Maybe you don't either. And if that's the case and Myrtle Beach living sounds right for you, email Tim Arnold at timbeachrealtor@gmail.com. That's timbeachrealtor@gmail.com. And look, even if you're not going to buy something, maybe send him a note, let him know you heard this. It's the only way that he and mom know anyone's actually listening to my show. My guest today is a writer, director, actor, and comedian. He has written for such shows as Cobra Kai, The Neighborhood, Keenan, and Welcome to Flatch. And he was just recently announced as the writer for the upcoming Ferris Bueller spinoff, Sam and Victor's Day Off. His directorial debut, Bitch Ass, which won the Midnighters Audience Award at South by Southwest, is available to rent and purchase on Redbox and Apple TV. Bill Posley, welcome to the show.
Dude, you have to send me that intro so I could just send that. Because people be like, hey, what's your bio? And I'm like, oh God, don't make me talk about myself.
So it's always the worst. Bios are the worst feeling in the world.
The worst. So now that you've done that, I will
I will happily send that over to you.
Yeah,
man.
Thank you. That'll be the only thing I've ever asked to do the podcast. That's how I'm gonna do my podcast. That's how I'm gonna do people's podcasts. Like, hey, will you do my podcast? I go, yeah, as long as I can keep the bio that you write to intro me.
I think that's fair. I think that's a good writer.
Yeah. So, dude, yeah, what's up, man? What are we talking about? What's going on?
Oh, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, man. This is an interview podcast. I think people are going to be very excited to hear a lot of what you've got going on and what do you have to say. But I mean, the first things first, we are old friends, and there's so much to talk about, so little time to do it in. But it's been a while since we talked. How have you been these last couple very, very weird years?
Yeah, man, good. I've been, lots happened, I think.
Yeah, that's an understatement, I think.
Yeah, I don't know where to begin really. Things are good. I moved to live up in the valley now, up in the Burbank.
Okay.
At a pandemic, we left Atwater Village, moved up here, and then I've just been working and focused on trying to get my own projects off the ground. Yeah.
Which you're doing a really good job of. You and I, we've known each other for a long time. We met maybe around your improv show that you used to host, maybe iOS, just kind of knew each other from around sketch and improv and those kind of things back in the day. And then we worked together on the CBS Comedy Showcase, and we've been friends since then. And since then, your career has really taken off, and it is so impressive. And everybody who knows you saw this coming. I think we all knew how successful you were going to be eventually. But have you taken the time to really sit down and think about everything you've accomplished and how far you've come, and how does that feel?
You're cracking into things that we haven't even gotten to in therapy, dude. Dude. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's so hard. I think that if you are in the pursuit of art or in the pursuit of something that is artistic, I think that like there's always a chip on your shoulder. And because if you're somebody who got it later, it happened to me, within the last 5 years, really honestly, in the last 3 years, right? So it's like, because I had so many years without it, and so many years of not being successful and struggling, I'm afraid to rest on my laurels and be content because I'm afraid it'll go away. And so the reason, or at least psychologically, I've told myself that the reason why I got here is because I never let my foot off the gas. And so I don't know if I've taken time to really smell the roses. I just kind of keep my foot on the gas, I think.
Yeah.
But there are moments, you have friends, people in your life who, invite you on a podcast and remind you, or my partner reminds me constantly, and my friends and give me the moments to sit down and celebrate it and stuff like that. So I am not doing a good job of it, but I try. But I think also a lot of it has to do with the fact that like I don't feel like I'm done yet. So I want to keep pushing.
I think that's great. And it's something that I think I struggle with, and a lot of writers struggle with, is discipline. It's sitting down to do it every day. And that's something that you're the most, if I had to describe you in one word, and I don't know why somebody would make me do that, but if I had to, I think I would say that, Bill Posley is driven. I don't know anybody as prolific as you are, as like just actively like chasing, pursuing, always working. Where does that drive come from, do you think?
Wow, man. I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know. I think that the people who can relate to this can relate to it. I think that there is something inside of me that is like, if I do not get this out, it's going to eat me alive. And so if I have an idea or I have something that I am super passionate about, it's just like, I can't stop thinking about it, and I obsess on it. And it's just like, it festers, and it just continues. It's like, it's literally, there's a poem called A Dream Deferred, and I never really understood it. Growing up, I always thought it was really simplistic and maybe kind of like, oh, I guess what you make of it, you'll make of it. But like, as I've gotten older, I think that thing is like, what happens to a dream deferred? And, does it just fester and die? And like, the longer and longer and longer that I put off my dreams, it grows inside of me like a cancer, or it grows inside. So like, I genuinely feel like, for me, the act of writing and getting things done is almost like it's like a release, it's like a breath. And I think that has a lot to do with why I'm driven. I mean, it's growing up, I wanted to get out of the place I grew up in, and I wanted to leave, and I wanted to do all that stuff. And so I was always in an active pursuit for like a better life and like a better situation. And so that's just never kind of stopped. And I've been working since I got my first job hosting at a restaurant when I was 14. Dang. So I've been working longer than I've not been working. So
you touched on something there that I kind of want to get into a little bit more. I think that I feel the same passion, like when it's like an idea that I'm like really excited about, and I have to write this and I have to get this out. Have you found yourself sometimes on projects, not to speak of anything in particular if you don't want to, but like where it's just a job, you know what I mean? Where it's not something that you're like, oh my God, I have to write this. And then how does that change your approach, and how do you still push yourself if it's something that you're not like, this is from deep within me and I have to do it,
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, when you're working for somebody, eventually, I no matter how excited, no matter how cool the show is, no matter how awesome the people are, and I've been on, I'm very lucky. I would say most of everything I've ever written on, I've been very lucky to be in a
Yeah,
lot.
for sure. It's all been great stuff. I'm just
But
this
also, but not
completely
even
hypothetical. Yeah.
Yeah, but not even the shows themselves. I also mean like the actual workspaces. Like, there are people who are on really great stuff, and it's hell.
Mm-hmm.
It's real hell. And I've been really lucky to not have that be the case. But even in those situations, at a certain point, there are days where it just feels like a job. That's just always going to be the case. Um, I don't think my stuff feels like a job. I think that's the difference. Like if I'm doing it for me or I'm doing it for myself, it doesn't feel like a job. When I'm writing my next feature or my pilot script or producing my short film or my feature or whatever, I feel like a kid, man. I feel like a kid. Like I feel like the same way I felt when I pretended to be a ninja or I before. I know it sounds like
No, I
crazy.
get it. I totally get it.
Easy, but like not one day of that feels like work. And we should all feel so lucky, man.
Absolutely. I remember when I was a kid, like I was in elementary school, and I remember like drawing, like I remember sending a letter to Fox that was like, why my friends and I should be the next like Power Rangers, and like here's my show pitch for what this show would be with me and my friends. And like it does, like when it's clicking and it's something that you're excited about, it should feel like you're playing. It should feel like you're a kid again and creating. And that's really cool that like, yeah, that you have that passion and drive, that even when it's a job, you find the things that you love about it. And when it's your own stuff, it's just like, it's like playing. It really is.
It really is. We take it for granted. And so I think that I think there's a lot of people who take it for granted. But I will say, when I'm still working, I do try to bring the best version of myself every time. And even though it's not, my show or my movie or my whatever it ends up being, I still, try and bring that same kind of passion and play and all that stuff to it, because I really do, just at the core of it, just love telling stories. And I think like when you tap back into the essence of it, that like if you simplify it, it might sound too simple, but if you just simplify it like that, then that's where the joy is. I think that's where like the beauty comes from, because it's just like, oh, what is the most interesting, fun, and exciting way to tell this story? And as opposed to being like, I have to write this thing. It's like, oh, I get to tell. I don't know. I think the word writer, I don't know if I think sometimes I don't know if I actually connect with it as much as I connect with the idea that I am a storyteller. However bougie or bullshit that sounds, I'm well aware of it.
I not a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but you served in the military, right?
I did, yeah.
Did you do you think some of the discipline that you have and able to sit down have you always been a disciplined person, I guess I'm asking, or do you think maybe that led a little bit to like how you're able to just sit down, put your head down and work on those days that you don't feel as driven or excited?
Yes, I mean, without a doubt, the military is responsible for a lot of things in my life. I think maybe the biggest thing is the importance of routine. I think that the military showed me that when you have a routine, you can thrive in that. And I think that was what the military gave me. I'll also say there's a ton of people who are in the military who don't do shit. Who I would say that outside of that structure fall apart and don't utilize it and don't take all the core values that they were taught, especially when it comes to, making the most out of your day. So it's tough, but I think the thing I got the most from the Army was that routine is literally the best way to thrive.
That's definitely an area that I struggle with. And that's like, I was talking to my therapist today. I was telling him about this meeting. I was like, my friend's so prolific, he does so much. And he was like, well, maybe you'll get some tips about how to be more disciplined. And like, okay, yeah, that's what I'll use the podcast for today. It's just an extra little therapy session and some advice on how I can like, put my head down every day and develop a better routine.
It's all it is for me is routine. I isolate when my best work time is. And I make sure that every day those hours are dedicated to that. And it's amazing what can get done when you know that. And not only when you know that, but when you actually make the time for you to accomplish what you want to accomplish in that.
Yeah, I don't remember who said this, but there was a quote from a screenwriter who said something along the lines of, the most important thing a writer has to protect is their time. And I think that is both very true, and also like, I think one of the harder things for people to understand, that, you know, like sometimes you're like, I'm sorry, I'm not blowing you off. This is just my writing time. Or, you know, sometimes people like, hey, we should like sit down together and like both be working on our stuff. Like, I know I lock myself in a room. I'm so sorry. That's just not how I write. Like, is that something that you, like, what is your writing routine look like day to day?
Yeah. So I know that I am, unfortunately, a morning person. I am very, very much a morning person. So I will do the majority of my writing before 7 or 8 a.m.
Whoa.
So I will probably get somewhere between 2 to 3 hours of writing done before 7 or 8 a.m. That's just me.
I mean, that's wild though. So what time are you waking up every day?
So probably about somewhere between 5 and 6.
Okay.
So I wake up between 5 and 6. If it's 6, I'll go to 8. If it's 5, I'll go to 7. And then, you know, some days it's an hour and a half. Some days it's, you know, three plus. But like, yeah, you know, that's just me. Like today, I woke up. Today's an odd day, but I woke up at like probably 3 a.m. Because I knew I had something I really wanted more than 2 or 3 hours on. But I also know that at like 7 or 8, I'm kaput. I'm not. Like, I need to go on my next routine is I walk every day for an hour. And so I have to be walking by 8 o'clock at the latest.
Interesting.
Because I have to eat food at 9. Like all those, there's like little windows, sometimes 9:30, sometimes that, but if I'm eating the first thing I'm supposed to eat at 10 o'clock, then my day's wrong. Something's up.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Cause I've tried different like schedules and patterns. Like I don't know if this is a COVID thing for me, like the COVID era or not, but I have a hard time like doing more than one thing in a day, I feel like. So if I work out that morning, like, okay, well, you're not writing today. You already did one thing today. So it's good that you have that like built in and like, well, this is exactly when I do this and this and this. It sounds like that really works for you.
Yeah. And again, I like I said, I know when I'm at my best and I dedicate the time to do that. You know, there's some people who can write at night. I can't write at night. I'm like not a night owl type of writer. That's like not my thing. I can't write in the middle of the day. I can't write after lunch. I can't write at 9 a.m. I legitimately, honestly need my best hours are from that. So like if anybody's hiring me, know that by the time I get to your room, I've been writing for 2 or 3 hours.
I was going to ask what that mean, like when you're in a writer's room, like, yeah. So like you're not writing, like you're not so much writing like while you're there, obviously you're taking the script with you, like when you're assigned one, and just the room is more about talking about ideas and stuff. But is that weird that you've, you know, that's the time or it's everybody writes when they write and the scripts just come in?
Yeah. Everybody writes when they write. I mean, it's, you know, everybody's thing should look the way it should look to them. If you wrote a word a day, I mean, eventually you'd write a script, you know, it's like, true. So for me, I'm just happy that I'm happy that I know what my routine, when my routine thrives and exactly how to utilize it. And so to me, that's the best. And so why not try and limit the reasons for me to not do it? Because like if it's late, I won't do it. If it's this, I won't do it. If it's that, I won't do it. But if it's exactly as soon as I wake up, I'm so like, I'm ready, I'm enthusiastic to write, I know all that stuff. I'm the opposite. I'm like you, right? So I'm like, if I work out, that's it, I'm done. There's no way I'm writing after I work out. So I don't even allow myself to work out before I write.
Yeah, that's smart. I don't
allow myself to do anything before I write because it'll take me away from writing.
That is honestly like, this is exactly what my therapist was hoping would happen today. That's really good advice, and I'm gonna try that out. I do want to get in some other areas. I don't know if you ever think about this. I don't know if people know this about you, but I don't know if you ever think about yourself this way. But you're kind of the reverse Mike White, in that Mike White wrote he's the writer of White Lotus. He wrote School of Rock, among other things, for people who don't know. And after he was already a successful writer, he appeared on Survivor. You were also a contestant on Survivor, but before all of this blowing up happened. What was that like, being on Survivor? I don't think we've ever actually talked about that, like, outside of this context.
Yeah, Survivor was a great experience. It came at a time in my life that I really needed it. I needed an incredible change. I needed to be shaken up out of my life. I was dealing with a lot of stuff personally that wasn't healthy and wasn't good for me. And so I had this opportunity, I sent in, I had an opportunity to send in an audition, and I got chosen, and I was very, very lucky, but it allowed me some peace from my own life that I really, really needed at the time. Toxic relationship, undealt with PTSD, alcohol, drugs. Like I was, really in a little bit of a pickle when it came to taking myself seriously. And being able to go to Survivor remove me from my life and remove me from me for the exact 2 months or whatever it was that I needed to get peace. And I like really connected and found myself. And when I came back from Survivor, I went on just like a tear. I just went on a tear, and it was great. I started like, I'm going if this is what it means to be a writer, this is what I have to do, or an actor, or if this is what it means to be my career, this is what I'm going to do. Got a job, started doing this, put myself through all these classes, boom, all this stuff. So like Survivor, while I did not win $1 million, it gave me a life that was worth way more.
That's amazing. I was not expecting that, like, that answer. That's really beautiful. And like, it's cool that you got that experience out of it.
Yeah.
Speaking, like you said, as you mentioned, since Survivor, you've been on a tear. And part of that tear was, as I mentioned in your intro, that you are writing a spinoff of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Sam and Victor's Day Off, about the two valets who joyride in Cameron's car. I know you probably can't say much about it at all, but here's what I want you to do. Tell me everything about it, and let's make some deadline headlines. Let's give this podcast some listens. Whatever you feel like you can say about it. I'm very excited. I was very excited for you when I saw that announcement, very happy for you. And, don't get yourself in trouble, but say, if there's anything you can or want to talk about, I'd love to hear it.
No, I mean, look, it's a cool opportunity. I couldn't have been more excited and happy and blessed, and like just feel so lucky. And like a lot of us, Ferris Bueller is just
one of the best.
Yes. But yeah, the production company came to me with this angle, and then they wanted me to pitch a take on it, and I did. I really loved this way in, because I think that any version that was like a sequel, or like Ferris Bueller Today, or the Black Ferris Bueller, I think like anything like that would have, I don't know if I would have been as interested in doing it, but the fact that it takes place during the same time, and it is that same world just seen through a different lens, is very exciting.
I love that. Yeah.
Exciting. And so I think that it's such a cool idea, and I hope, and I know, listen, everybody who, if you hate me for even writing this or touching the property, I couldn't agree with you more. I hate me. Anytime I see anything like this announced, I'm like, why are you guys doing this? Pick some original ideas. There's a ton of stories that haven't been told. Why are you trying to fucking ruin something I love so much? I'm sorry. I hope people feel that it's closer to like Top Gun Maverick. Then I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that people ruined, but then it is, a property that has tried to be rebooted and just not done very well or not considerate of the fan base. So I'm know that a fan is a huge fan's working on it and is writing it, and I'm trying my best to honor that and bring something new and exciting to it.
I was going to ask about that, and you kind of already covered it, but I'm going to push through anyway because I'm a bad interviewer and I want to cover this anyway. You've worked on Cobra Kai. You're working on this Ferris Bueller thing. That's two very beloved properties that, I mean, Cobra Kai is doing what you're saying. It is like, I think when it was announced, people were like, well, why are they bothering? And then people love it. And I think, so how much pressure do you feel of like honoring the original versus how much freedom do you feel in like, I can do something new and fun with this, with either property?
Yeah, I mean, I think, working on Cobra Kai and working with those guys, I think that the thing that you have to do is you have to create a balance. You have to do something where you're like, okay, we are going to stay true to the world in regards to these characters are going to be these characters, and they're going to operate in a way that is familiar to the people who are watching it. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, you have to be ready to pave new ground and make it relevant as to why you're telling this story. And so I think that is like kind of the balance. And so like, if it's all homage, can be nauseating.
Yeah.
And if there isn't any nods to what people love to make it feel like, hey, if you love this, you're in on this, what's happening. Mm-hmm. Here you go. Then you're missing the point of doing something like this. So, I mean, I definitely feel, enormous pressure at the end of the day to do both. And I hope with my working with the guys, John, Josh, and Hayden, who do this very, very well, that I'm in good hands with them as producers, and with my experience on Cobra Kai and working on a property like that and bringing it to life with them. Mm-hmm. I think that I couldn't be more set up for success, and I fingers crossed that it translates.
Oh, I'm sure, dude. You're like, I don't mean to keep, but you're so good. Like, we knew like this. CBA showcases, your sketches were always great. You're a talented dude. I would trust you. I think if anybody's listening who's worried about this show or movie, don't be. This is good hands. I have other areas I want to get into with you, but I want to make sure that we do this while we have time. You just made your feature directorial debut on something that you co-wrote, Bitch Ass, which I watched this morning. It's very fun. Great, like, throwback slasher movie. First of all, what was it like moving from writing and acting, which I knew you more from, to directing your first big feature?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was awesome. It was hard. It was really fucking hard, but it was awesome. And everything that could go wrong went wrong. We had no money.
Sure.
We had no vaccine yet.
Wow. I didn't realize that's when you shot it. Okay.
Yeah. We shot it in March of 2021. So the vax had not, or it had been done, but it was only for people over 60.
Yeah, not for us yet. Right.
Not for us yet. And so, I had to do all this really, you're rolling the dice, because you're just like, if one person gets COVID, this whole thing's shut down. Your COVID testing, it's eating up so much of your budget. I tried to go SAG. I had 12 days. It was
you shot it in 12 days?
12 days, man.
Dude, that's amazing.
12 days. 12 days. We
Oh,
had
man.
$250,000 in 12 days.
Wow. You said what would you say if somebody was trying to direct their first movie? What advice would you have for, like preparing for it, for what it's actually like on the day?
Yeah, I think, 2 cameras.
Great.
Yeah. Is my first thing. No, I would say trust yourself, trust yourself and like trust your team. I can't stress that enough. If there's even an inkling that you and somebody that you are in pre-production with aren't vibing, end it. Like just say, hey, look, you're great. I think you're amazing. This just ain't this ain't, if we have to be on set together and we're not vibing right now, this is not okay. You know what I mean? We gotta nip that in the bud before this is no pressure and we're not working out. Do you know what I mean? Imagine how it'll feel when the pressure's on. It's gonna be nuts. So like, that would be it. And then also, if you're the director, you set the tone. And you're responsible for the tone on that set because everybody's looking to you to lead. And so have fun. Have fun. Even if it's bad, even if it doesn't go the way you want it to go, have fun. Like I'm sure there are people who are going to watch Bitch Ass that are going to be like, this movie really? I could do this and I could do it better. And you're right, you can. And they're right. It's to some people just okay. But I'll tell you something, when we were making it, we were having fun. We poured our heart and our love and our blood, sweat, and tears to it. And I think what translates in that movie is it looks like it was a good time.
It definitely does. It is a very fun like I said, as a throwback to these like older slashers. And you even Tony Todd's in your movie doing sort of the Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Hood, like bookend narrator type character. What was it like working with like a horror legend like that?
Great. Consummate professional, nailed it on the first take. He's 6 foot something. He's ginormous. He has the deepest voice ever, and it sends chills up your spine. And he couldn't have been lovelier and more passionate about the project. And he was the best, literally the best.
That is so awesome. That's very sweet. One thing I want to talk about, we don't have a ton of time left, but before pandemic hit, one of the last things that I think I saw you at, it's hard to remember exactly the timing of everything because everything's a blur now, but you did this amazing one-man show, The Day I Became Black. Are you still performing that? Is that available anywhere? Because it's really great and people should definitely see it.
December 9th in Hollywood at the Bourbon Room. I'm doing the very last day.
Oh my God. I didn't realize this was going to be a plug. And then I stepped on you doing it. Please please tell us when and where we can see it.
So December 9th, 8:00, the Bourbon Room in Hollywood. It's the last time I'm ever putting the show up.
Oh man, it's such a good show. You should definitely get on that if you haven't seen it. It's so good.
Yeah, man.
What was it? It's such a personal show, but it's also, and it's deep. It has dark moments. It has funny moments. What is it like getting that personal about your own life and your own story in front of people? Because like as writers, sometimes like obviously our lives influence what we write, but this is just straight up. This is who I am. How does that? And it's a much more vulnerable experience, I think. How does that feel to you to do just something like that?
Yeah, it's great. I and scary, and therapeutic and cathartic, all wrapped up into one. And I fell in love with performing and through stand-up, and I fell in love with it through writing as well, because you get to write what you perform. And like, so for me, it goes back to that same thing. It's another form of storytelling, and I think I fall in love with it. It's so cool to be in front of an audience and be able to convey like what's going on in your head to them, and get this like really instant reaction, because when you write, you send stuff off to be read, or when you act on camera, you wait for it to be cut and somebody watches it without you. It's theater, live performance, all that stuff is the only space for the writer to like see somebody watch their work. I mean, I guess unless you write a movie and you go to the theaters, but
sure, but yeah, that's
happening less and less. But it's really it's great.
That's awesome, man. We have about 4 minutes left. So because eventually Zoom is just going to end and cut us off. That is what this show is. So I want to give you the opportunity now to, where can people follow you? Is there anything else you want to plug? Anything along those lines?
Nah, man, we did enough of that. I'm not
You're not a big social media. You're not a big social media guy either. So
no, I'm not. And to my own detriment, I'm sure. But
it's probably a good thing. It has wrecked my mental health in numerous ways. But hey, what are you gonna do? I do have some deep areas that I want to get into. I want to get to know you on a deeper, more emotional human level here. But first, one more quick ad read. We are also not officially sponsored by, but doing an unpaid, unofficial ad for vaccines.gov. It's the holiday season. Many of you will be gathering with your loved ones, not me probably, because of my deeply held anxieties. But whatever your holiday traditions, keep yourself and the people you care about safe. It's flu season, COVID's still out there. Get the new bivalent COVID booster if you haven't done so already. Get your flu shot. I just got both. I'm alive. I feel fine. My 5G cell phone signal, never been stronger. To find and schedule an appointment near you, visit vaccines.gov. Bill, when you die, as we all eventually do, what do you want people to say about you and your life?
Did you know he fenced?
You fenced?
No, I don't, but I want to learn, and then I hope people would be like, did you know that he was like a fencer? Like, and like he was like an alternate on the Olympic team. Like, did you know that? Like, it'd be like, he did? And I'm like, yeah, he did. Like,
so you just want people making stuff up about you after you're gone?
No,
or do you
like I hope
to...
between now and then I get good enough to be an alternate on the Olympic team. And then I hope that when I die, people are like, dude, he wrote bitch ass. He wrote and directed bitch ass. And they're like, yeah, but that's not even that's not even like the thing, dude. He was like an alternate on the Olympic team 2032.
If anybody could do this, if anybody could change streams in that way, I think it would be you.
Wouldn't that be awesome if somebody said that about just like some asinine thing that you're like, did you know he fenced? They'd be like, really? Anyway, go ahead. Next.
Aside from fencing, if you could know something about your future or know what your future looked like, but couldn't change it, would you want to, or would you rather not know?
Man, it all depends. I guess it does depend on what I wish I knew. The cheesy answer is I don't want to know, because the surprises are what make it great. But if I knew I was about to hit it big, I'd want to know, so I could just like start testing my friends, see who's really loyal, use it against them later, start fucking getting, yeah. So I guess I'd know.
Okay, that's fair. If you could time travel but only once, there and back, where would you go and why? Past, future, anything.
I would go back to Y2K.
Okay. Do you have a specific reason?
Yeah. I would go back to Y2K because I think it might be one of the most pivotal points in our system.
Your meeting has ended. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to 39-Minute Conversations, hosted and produced by Brian T. Arnold. Music by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and tune in for new episodes, and don't forget to rate and review. If you didn't like what you heard, please don't do any of that. That's okay too. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe and be well.